As usual, welcome to Tembea Study. We got a passion for students, migrants, and people who actually travel to different countries because we believe that when we share information, you're gonna enjoy the place that you are at whatever time it is. So today, let me have a chat to students. Student life, part 1. Now, I do believe these are very tough time for students. And students are really struggling so much to get to Australia. Specifically, Australia. But then if you consider it's actually a move that is all the way from Canada, all the way, to Australia. So there's a lot that is going on at the moment when it comes to, student visas and stuff. But then, this is what I'll tell you as a student. It too shall be well. It shall be well very soon. Don't even stress about it. So what happens is when a particular country brings all these changes, the other countries try to implement the same changes and try to, achieve the same goal. So let's say, for example, if Canada comes up with a plan and says, we believe that students actually, the numbers of students are exceeding the number of workers, or maybe they are bringing, so whatever, there's that influx of students. And the only way to mitigate that then should be maybe reduction of student visas. Surprisingly, most Western countries, they will also consider the same thing and say, oh, maybe it's not only in Canada, but also in our country too. And once they take that then to Parliament, they make all these decisions and then they come up with different opinions and ideas. And then because of the data that they have, then they are able to regulate. The word is to regulate. But then this is what happens. Because of where we are, or in terms of migration, it doesn't matter how much they regulate it, but things have changed a lot where there are things that are very difficult to control in a way, like because universities need students to survive. The government, they need us. They need students to survive. So they need migrants. The countries need migrants because people come from overseas, some bring brains, others come to study, others come to travel. And all that translates to money in terms of the economies. So whether you're a migrant, whether if skilled or not skilled, you work in this country, you contribute to this country, so you're important. Whether you're a student, even if you're not working in this country, you're paying school fees, so you're important. Does that make sense? So whether you're a visitor, where do you buy coffee when you get to Australia? You buy coffee in this country. So you are important. And that's how it is. So you need to always, number one, acknowledge how important you are in every country that you are in. You may not even only be in Australia, but you are contributing to every country that you have moved to. So we can simply say migrants have such an important cohort of people. So they are a very important cohort of people because the government considers, even if the visa strap might be a little bit challenging, but the government knows that you are there and you actually contribute in a particular part of the economy. So you need to actually appreciate yourself and acknowledge that you are so important. Anyway, so let's talk about students today. The first decision to move to Australia, I think this is where it begins with you're in your home country, you're thinking about a particular country that you want to study in, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Australia, whether it's Canada, whether it's Europe, whatever country you're thinking. And then this thought comes in your mind and you start considering and talking to people. Either you're influenced by a friend, or maybe you've read somewhere, or geography, or whatever, So the idea comes up. And you are thinking about what should you actually do and when, so you can achieve the dream that you have. Sometimes you finish your degree or your master's or your PhD and you want to progress in your studies. Some people have the zeal to study and they love studying and they just love books, bookworms, And some of the students will also want to study and maybe get a better life. If you're migrating for your own reasons, whether you're a refugee or you're migrating because of other situations, well and good, fair and good, that's okay. But then as a student, once you think about that, then there's a process that you have to follow. And specifically, let me talk about Australia because that's where I am. So there's a process that you have to follow. So you think about it and you're thinking about what is required and you visit an agent. And then the agent will come up with all these ideas. This is what you need to do, when and how. Bring all these papers, check your qualifications and stuff, and then design on the course that you want to do. And then you have to do your English test. And then after English test, make sure you have a passport by then, or you've already lodged a passport, depending on the time frame. Because every country is different. Some countries will take a month to process your passport. Others will take a year. Others will take 3 months or whatever. It doesn't matter. But then, once you have the thought and you decide, you're asking yourself about money, because honestly, if this is not solved, you won't even progress further unless maybe you have been sponsored, or maybe you're going for a particular way of, maybe there's a company that needs you to go and work. Then if you don't have enough money, then it won't be possible. So then this is another barrier that kicks in straight away. And you're thinking about, now you need money. Where are you gonna get all this money? Maybe, for example, at the moment, Australia, they're asking around 50,000 minimum at least dollars, which is AUD. At $50,000. And then you're thinking, where will I get $50,000 actually, to get to this country? And that's why it gets a little bit tougher. But then, I believe now this is the time that most people, decide either to quit from their vision or not. And they don't want to explore further what other options that they can have. And in this channel, we'll be talking about these things, because I believe that if you have a vision, you should always fight for that vision until you achieve whatever you want to achieve. So let's say, for example, you hit the barrier where you need $50,000, $50,000, and you're thinking, this is a lot of money, because, for example, if you multiply this money with Ugandan money or with Kenyan money, you'll be talking about 50 times 80, or minimum of $80 or 90. So you're talking around 4.4 million Kenya shillings plus. And this is only for the bank statement. It's not even for school fees. So maybe they need this money plus school fees plus all this. As much as you have been able to raise all this money, it's a struggle for many families. But what I can say and what I can encourage you is, not actually everyone who migrates to these countries, or not every student who goes to study in a different country, that their families are rich. Not all the families. Some families just work things out, and they figure things out, and they decide, okay, now maybe we don't have the money that we need, but how can we get it? What are the options that we have? There are so many options that you can consider. And this is where it's so important for you to seek some legal support or legal advice. Let's say, for example, you want to migrate to a country like Australia. Maybe you have some real estate somewhere. Is there a way you can get bank loans? Are you able to sell land? Do you have any land that you can sell? Do you have friends who can support? Because some people get supported by friends. Do you have so many options? Because sometimes you might have the desire, but then it's a little bit challenging. So if you don't have any house that you can sell, do you have any title deeds? You are thinking about all these things. Some people are pastoralists, so they have cows. What other options do you have? Do you have, what else can you remember? Anything that you can remember that actually can raise funds. And this becomes a little bit hard for many, many families, because assume you have like 5 siblings. If you have 5 siblings, and they also require attention too. So your parents will be thinking, will A go to Australia? Will they go to Australia? And then the rest, B to D or B to E, what will they be doing at home? But then it is always important for you to remember that whenever you have a vision, the white man said, you need to aim at the sun so you can fall on the moon. And there are other options that you can actually consider and think about them as a family. And if this is becoming an impossibility, always think about, if option A is failing, what about B to D option? Option B to D. Question number 1, do you have to travel to the same country? Do you have to travel to the same country? Or are you actually flexible? maybe not only the country that you want to travel, but remember, all these countries, they always bring different options. So for example, let's say Australia, you might get, they want a bank statement of, let's say, 6 million. But New Zealand or Austria or Canada, they might be needing like maybe 3 million. What have you done? So you have already halved the amount that Australia was requiring. And then what does that mean for you? You might not be traveling to Australia in 2024, but remember, in the next 3 years, which will be 2027, you might have traveled to the country that was opposite to Australia. But in 2027, what might happen? You might have raised money to travel to the country that you wanted. But it becomes a little bit challenging when we, when we fixate ourselves to the idea that this is the only country that I can travel to. And you know where this comes from? This comes from the ideas and the advice that we have got from friends, family, and they tell us, look, it's only in Australia where you can make a better living, or it's only in Canada, or it's only in US where you can make a better living. But is that true? And the answer is no. Actually, you can only make a better living where you migrate to, you settle in, and you thrive. Not everyone who travels to these countries thrives. No, not always. Not all the people who travel to these countries thrive. There are some who really struggle even to get, on their foot, and at least make a difference. But then, if you have an open mind, what you need to do is you just need to think of options that you have and say, maybe I won't be able to afford Australia for now, but maybe I will even travel to South Africa. Maybe I can get sponsorship, or I can work in South Africa. Maybe stay there for a while, or maybe I can travel to India, or I can travel to Europe. Let's say you're traveling to Poland, or you're traveling to UK. Because every country, remember, and I'll give you at the moment, New Zealand, Australia, it's very strict with students. But see what's happening in New Zealand. They have opened the pathways for students. So some countries will restrict. For actually, it works like it's a plan. So some countries will restrict, and then other countries will be flexible. And then once they have enough, they will restrict, and the countries that was strict will now be flexible. Remember, all these laws, they don't take forever. They don't go for years and years and years. So what they do, let's say they wanted 300,000 students, right? So, and then they decide, now I think we need to reduce this number. What they'll do, they'll put so many restrictions. This happens with everything, right? Once they hit their number, and then they realize that life is still progressing, we need more students, maybe for the economy, or we need more students, maybe for schools or unis. What do? They simply change only one rule, or maybe one policy, and straight away, what happens? Straight away, they make it easy. So let's say, for example, the barrier was money. Next time the barrier won't be money, it will be age. So the only solution to overcome every migration challenge that you are facing is not actually about the money that you have in your bank account, but it's all about flexibility. That's the word. If you are flexible, you can travel to any country that you want. It might not happen now, but be flexible, that maybe next year you'll be able to travel to the country that you have always dreamt of. Remember to follow Tembea Study, because we are here to challenge you, share wisdom, all for free for now. Maybe in future you'll have to buy it, but for now it's free. So subscribe so you can learn and help somebody. Enjoy.